Alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our weekly Outlook webinar. Today is Sunday, October 29th, 2017. I appreciate you guys joining us today. If you guys are tuning in for your first time, I do appreciate you guys' support. My name is David Schinkel. I'm the CEO and founder of Positive Traders. I do this Sunday weekly webinar for you guys just about every Sunday, so I can give you guys my outlook and my opinion on the markets. I've been running Positive Traders for almost a year and a half now. I've been trading Forex full time for 2 years, and I've been in the Forex, involved with Forex for 4 years. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you have any other questions while going through this, you want me to relook at a pair. I only look at the pairs that are over here on the right, but if there is, if I can move too fast on a pair or you have a question, please feel free to drop that in the chat room. Other than that, guys, let's go ahead and get started. My big disclaimer I do want to definitely mention is that I am my own trader, guys, okay? I don't, this is not financial investment advice. This is my outlook of what I think that the markets could possibly do this week. Please, if you're taking your own trades, do not be basing the trades just off of my analysis. Make sure that you have some sort of your own analysis to agree with what I'm thinking. And this is, at the end of the day, weekly analysis. Okay, guys, this is my opinion of what I think will happen throughout the week. TJ, you're asking USD CAD. We will go ahead and get to that, good sir. We're going to be moving from the top to the bottom over here. So USD CAD we will look at last. But let's go ahead and move into things. First, I do want to look at the economic calendar for the week. I am forecasting this week to be very, very volatile. I think that we're going to see a lot of movement in the week. The first 24 hours of the markets being open this week, we can see that it's not going to be too crazy. We can see all of Monday. We don't have a ton of news coming out. But I believe if I counted correctly, there are actually three central banks this week. Just this week alone, there's three central banks deciding interest rates. So we have on Tuesday morning, so usually it's going to be anywhere between Monday evening and Tuesday morning, we're going to see the pound yen. They are going to decide their interest rates. So that is coming out Tuesday. That's a big key risk event. There's other high risk events scattered throughout the week also. So I don't have time to talk on. I'm not going to be able to talk on every single thing, but I just want to outline the most important things. So if you guys are taking notes, you have some sort of trading journal for this, that you are aware of these events. So Monday night, Tuesday morning, sometime between that, because you guys can see right here, it does say tentative. We do have the Bank of Japan. They will be deciding their interest rates. A couple high impact events on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have our federal funds rate. So in the U.S., the Federal Reserve will be deciding if they keep interest rates the same or if they go up or if they go down. Not to mention, also, we have our, as usual, the Wednesday before NFP, we see our ADP non-farm employment change, among other high-risk or high-impact events that day as well. And then also Thursday, we have the Great Britain pound. So the Bank of England, we have their decision if they're going to be keeping interest rates the same, if they're going to be raising them, or if they're going to be lowering them. So three central banks to be on the lookout for. We have the Bank of Japan. Some, Japanese cross pairs are going to be pretty volatile. U.S. dollar cross pairs are going to be very volatile, and Great Britain pound cross pairs are going to be pretty volatile this week as well, in expectance of these three different events. And then just to top it off, as if the week could not get more volatile enough, Friday we also have NFP. So we have our basically our unemployment, our non-farm, our employment, our employment and unemployment change for the past month, for the month of October. So we'll see what these readings are. It does look like non-farm is forecasted to be pretty good for the dollar this month. Unemployment rates, it looks like it's forecasted to stay the same. And average hourly earnings looks like it's forecasted to drop by 0.3%. So pretty interesting week this week, okay? So definitely on your, if you have a trading journal, I'd be writing down Friday NFP, and then you have three central banks that are deciding interest rates this week. So I am expecting a pretty volatile week in the markets, lots of up and down movement I'm expecting. So without further ado, let's jump right into the technical analysis now that we have seen kind of the precursor to the beginning of the week. So let's start off with the dollar index. Let's see what the dollar is doing. And Today's analysis, guys, is not going to be super crazy. There's not a whole lot to talk about because the setups are pretty clear, in my opinion, at least in the markets. So dollar index, let me kind of outline a couple areas. So this has been major resistance for dollar index for a while. And as I mentioned last week, guys, I'm going to be spending a little bit more time than normal on the dollar index and then zoom through the rest of them, because if we have an idea of what the dollar is doing, then you have a good idea of what the rest of these pairs are doing. So the dollar index, we have been waiting. We just waited all last week. We did take a trade on AUD USD. We waited for the 94 level to get broken, and finally on Friday we did see this Thursday going into Friday, we saw this 94 level broken. So we also have this inverted head and shoulders that we've talked about a couple times. So I will go ahead and outline that for some of you guys that are just tuning in for your first time. We have this very, very clear head and shoulders. Now, last week we were waiting for this neckline to break, this resistance at the 94 area. So we finally broke this area. So I think we're going to definitely see some more strengthening of the dollar. One interesting thing also is to add a little bit of confluence to this trade. If we actually fib out this previous swing and measuring right before it started making the small pullback that we're in right now, we can also see that this 94 level that we broke is not just this technical level of resistance, just from basic price action on the charts, just support and resistance, but it's also the 23.6% retracement level of this swing of 2017. So this is actually where we started off the beginning of this year at, right around actually almost the first of this year. It looks like that was the 3rd of January, so the high of 2017. All the way to the low of the current 2017. So if I had to guess, I'd say that these fib levels are pretty important, pretty strong levels. And I think our next target is going to be somewhere around the 96, 97 level. So I think this green zone is our next target. I don't know if we're just going to just make a push and just continue going straight up. We may find a little bit of a bounce off of this area this week before moving up higher. But ultimately, my eyes are on a stronger dollar, looking for somewhere between the 96 level and the 97 level. So knowing that, having a bias to a stronger dollar for gold, we are looking at, in my opinion, I think we're going to be looking at gold weakening a little bit throughout this week. Now, again, I want to be very clear for some of you guys that are watching this, if you guys are not used to watching my weekly webinars, that this is just my weekly analysis, okay? It does not mean just because I say I think gold is going to drop throughout this week or gold might make new lows, just like I think the dollar is going to make new highs. It does not mean just go and blindly sell gold right now. We need to look for confirmation, or even, buying the dollar. We need to look for confirmation to buy the dollar. So especially on gold right now, how we kind of made that little bit of a pullback on Friday, I do think that as we see a stronger dollar, we're going to see gold continue moving lower, but we may move a little bit sideways. But ultimately, my next target for gold is going to be the 1250 level, and then looking to break 1250 if we see the dollar continue to strengthen, moving back towards the 1200 level. So it'll be interesting to see where price moves towards, but that's where I'm forecasting gold to go to over the next week or so, is moving towards the 1250 level. Euro USD, we finally saw, I know most people in the Forex community, I saw this posted all over social media. We even recognize this as well. Very, very big head and shoulders that just got broken, okay? So we have this head and shoulders right here. Just a second, guys. Right here. Looks exactly like the opposite of the dollar index. So we have this nice head and shoulders right here. And so I am expecting Euro USD to continue moving lower. We have this really, really nice formation. Even on the daily, it looks really nice when you're zoomed out pretty far away. So let me just delete the head and shoulders. So where is my next target on Euro USD? I am looking for 115. So this week I'm looking for a price to move somewhere around like the 115, the high 114s, low 115 area. If my charts will load, I apologize, guys. I'm not connected to the best Wi-Fi at this Airbnb right now. There is some resistance. We can actually see this major level of resistance, and it looks a little bit better on the weekly. I'll just throw it on the weekly very quickly for you guys. We can see this major area of resistance that we broke out of, right, earlier this year. So earlier this year, we broke out of this area. And so I'm thinking that price is going to come back down and retest this area. We'll see what happens when we get down to the zone. This is a 61.8% retracement level of this swing right here. So a couple different targets, but my first target before moving any lower is going to be somewhere around the 115 level. So Euro USD, I'm hoping we get towards the 115 this week. Dollar Swiss franc, we're actually just going to skip over this pair right now, but I do think that it is going to be moving higher throughout the week. Let's look at pound dollar very quickly. Sorry, guys. All right, pound dollar. We're also going to be skipping over pound dollar as well, but I do think that if we see, my bias with pound dollar would probably be more to the downside than anything, just because if we're seeing the dollar strengthen, we sometimes see the pound dollar and euro dollar have a positive correlation to each other. And generally speaking, with a stronger dollar, we should see a weaker pound yen. So I'd be biased towards the downside, but there's a lot of indecision right now. We've seen a lot of back and forth with pound dollar the past almost 2 weeks, really. We've seen almost 3 weeks, actually. We've seen pound dollar just kind of move sideways, kind of been in a small range. So once we break out of that, we'll be looking at it a little bit more. But as of right now, on the sidelines, pound yen, I think we're going to see some pound yen. This is actually pound yen if you guys are in the premium group. If you guys are watching this right now and you're in the premium group, as far as like signals go and the trades that are taken on the trade copier this week, pound yen is one of the pairs that I'm interested in the most. I'm interested in finding an opportunity to possibly buy this pair this week. Don't know why the Wi-Fi is, I'm sorry guys, if I apologize about that, guys. The Wi-Fi where I'm at is not very good. If you guys give me just a second. Trying to make things work here. Need this pound yen chart to load if we can. Real sorry about that, guys. Alrighty. All right, guys, I think Wi-Fi is back up and running. I apologize, guys. I'm at Airbnb in Dallas with a couple business partners and friends right now. And it is, I think there's a lot of people on the Wi-Fi right now. So I apologize, guys, that it's lagging. If it's lagging for you, go ahead and watch the replay. But let's keep moving. So pound yen, I am interested in looking for some possible opportunities to buy this pair this week. We've been, and this is just strictly off of correlations, guys. I mean, not only that, I mean, obviously the overall trend for pound yen is up, but a big one for me is the correlation to pound yen and the way the pound yen correlates to gold and the dollar. Usually when we see a stronger when we see a stronger dollar, we see weaker gold, and gold and pound yen have a negative correlation to each other. So if we're seeing gold move down, then we should see pound yen start to move up. And the reason that happens, guys, is because the yen is treated as a safe haven currency like the yen. So the yen is treated like a safe haven currency like gold. So when we see an influx in buying in the dollar, that's usually, hedge funds, banks, people that actually move the markets, moving their assets from things like gold to the dollar. Okay, so that's why you see gold go down, is because people are selling their gold and they're buying the dollar. When the gold is weak, people are selling the dollar and they're buying gold. Okay, so if we know that the pound yen is treated like gold, then that means when there's a weaker dollar, people don't just buy gold, but they also buy the yen. So that means if people are buying the dollar and we're seeing people sell gold, then they're also selling the yen. And on this chart right here on pound yen, if you're looking at which direction would price move, if you were selling the yen, it would be going up, right? Because you would be buying pounds and selling yens. So I'm very interested in upside in pound yen just from that correlation. But also, I do see just a little bit of a trend line right here. This could be a little bit variable, but there is kind of this trend line in this area. There's also this current level that price is at. Let me delete this too, by the way, so I'm not confusing some of you guys. Also, on a higher time frame, just from a bigger perspective, we can actually see the rejection in this area. So this was a pretty significant double or triple top that we actually bounced off of last week. So we broke through this area, bounced off of this. So I think we're going to see some more upside on this pair. Definitely, if we see a stronger dollar, then we're going to see more upside on this pair. But again, if you guys are in the premium group, you guys are watching this, you guys are wondering what pairs are we, what pairs are my eyes on for giving out signals this week? More than likely on the pound yen. That's a very interesting trade right now. What I would like to see happen, ideally in my book, for me to be looking for buys is I'd like to see like price rally a little bit and then maybe kind of like make a little bit of a flag and then maybe catch that flag for a buy, or maybe get a clear bounce off of this zone again, just some sort of price action that gives us confirmation to the upside. So pound yen, I'm very interested to the upside this week. Dollar yen, very similar. I think that we're going to see some upside this week on this pair as well. Both of these are due for a push up, especially with the strengthening in the dollar that we've been seeing. So we did see some rejection off of this 61.8% retracement level last week. So I think that's why price stalled a little bit. It's just on this larger time frame, we're seeing the sellers step in on this pair. I also have outlined, as you guys can see on the 4-hour, also when I first switched to it, is there's this little channel, little ascending channel that dollar yen is playing in. So it's not super significant because it's just a very small, it's not a ton of candles. It's not, hundreds of candles. It's just, a couple dozen candles making this channel. So we'll see how well price reacts to this area. But ideally, I'd be looking for buys once this channel is broken, some sort of flag in this area, and then looking for, confirmation to the upside. But dollar yen, I'm still interested in it moving higher. Let's look at AUD/USD and NZD/USD. AUD/USD, for some of you, obviously, if you guys are in the premium group, you guys recognize this trade from last week. If you're in the free group, I just have this on here so you guys can see an example of a trade that I gave out. This was a trade that we took in the premium group last week, or the only trade that we took in the premium group last week. Sorry, guys, just give me 1 second. There's just an alarm going off. Alrighty, I apologize, guys. That was a buddy's phone going off. Sorry about that. So this is just an example of a trade that we took last week with a 1 to 3.13 risk reward. Absolutely just smashed through both of our take profit levels. This was take profit 2. Take profit 1 was at a 1 to 2 risk reward. So we actually had 46 pips on that. We were risking 23. So our first take profit was right there. And then our second take profit was right here. Alrighty, guys, I apologize about that. Anyways, jumping right back into it, AUD/USD, still expecting some downside on this pair. We have seen a big rally. I know a lot of a big drop in this pair. I know a lot of people are expecting this pair to go up, and it may, right? I know we made a nice exhaustion candle, nice little kangaroo tail on Friday down here. I'm sure there's a lot of buy orders in this area in the market right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if price moved to the upside, but if you are looking at buying AUD/USD, make sure it's temporary. I personally am not looking at buying this pair, even though the price action is nice. I don't want to be trading against the trend. I would much prefer looking for a setup to the downside, maybe a little bit of a retracement up to this previous zone and then dropping lower. One thing to open up you guys' eyes to see some perspective in the markets too, there is also a head and shoulders on this pair that was broken. Not a perfect head and shoulders, is what we call a descending head and shoulders, where the neckline is at an angle rather than being completely flat. But we can see this neckline that was actually broken. So this week on the daily, we may actually see price come back up to this zone. So not only testing this green zone, but also the neckline of that head and shoulders. So definitely am very strongly biased to the downside still on AUD/USD. It has a lot to do with just the way price action is playing out right now. We can see this major weekly, multi-month weekly resistance level that we had broken earlier this year. So this bottom green level right here, this green box going all the way from left to right, we can see that it's a very significant level. It also happens to be, look at this too. There's so much confluence on this pair, guys. There's so much confluence on this pair. Look at this this retracement as well. So there's the fib, and then here's our 50% retracement level, which we broke out of, which also happens to be this weekly multi-month resistance and also the neckline of our head and shoulders. So this is a very big level that we broke. So I'm expecting, as long as we stay below this level, that we're going to see some more downside on this pair. So again, if you're buying this pair, I know a lot of people are looking at buying this pair. I personally am not, but if you are, make sure it's temporary. Again, maybe, who knows, we could see price come up and break through this level and continue moving higher, and this could be a great position to buy. But in the markets, guys, with Forex, we are all about taking calculated risks, and we are in a very strong downtrend. We have too many things on these higher time frames, too many clues on this higher time frame still pointing us to the downside, that it's not worth taking, the risk, to just try to get the perfect entry. Forex isn't about getting a perfect entry. It's not about hitting a home run on every single trade. It's about being consistent trade after trade after trade. You do not have to hit a home run every single time you take a trade to be successful long term. So watching for more downside on this pair, or, in other words, a better opportunity or better setup to sell this pair. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, same thing. I'm still expecting a decline in this pair. I'm expecting it to go much further to the downside. And I'm looking for a little bit more confirmation this week. I think we could be expecting some really big long-term downside on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. I'm going to remove a couple of these things just because of how far away we are from price. I'm going to remove, I don't know what that is either. I'm going to delete that, so we don't have a very cluttered chart. So pretty much, guys, when I see New Zealand dollar, US dollar, there's only one thing I'm focused on right now, and I'm focused on what is happening at this zone that we are at right now. Are we going to break through this zone? If so, we're probably going to see a pretty big decline. We're probably going to see it drop pretty hard. Are we going to bounce off of this area like we have multiple times in the past? So not so much interested in trading New Zealand dollar, US dollar right now, because we are on such a specific zone. We are on such a very strong level of support. But do believe me, guys, that if we do break this support, I will be much more interested in trading this pair. My eyes will definitely be looking at trading this. But still, just from looking at the dollar strength and seeing AUD USD, break some pretty technical levels and expecting more downside on those, that pair, and expecting more downside on Euro USD and expecting more strengthening of the dollar overall, expecting more downside on New Zealand dollar, US dollar as well. And finally, TJ, as you're asking in the very beginning, USD CAD, as usual, guys, our last pair to look at USD CAD. What do I think is going to happen with USD CAD? I think we're still going to see a little bit more upside on this pair this week. We actually last week broke through a pretty significant level of resistance, which we can see with this top little green zone right here. We also are, if you guys just look at this daily trend line, right, it also looks pretty good on the 4-hour. We'll look at it on the 4-hour, but really, guys, I keep it this simple when I trade. Trading is not, you don't have to make it some complex thing where you're looking at a million indicators. You can be successful if you know what you're looking at. You don't have to have a ton of things, but that's the key. You can be successful if you know what you're looking at. If you don't know what you're looking at, then you're just taking a stab in the dark, a shot in the dark every single time you place a trade. So we can see what we're looking at here. We can see this very, very strong level this strong level acting as support on USD CAD right now. So I'm expecting some upside on this pair. We can see some pretty big moves on the 4-hour. You can see that this trend line, you can see how clear this trend line is acting as support. So I'm expecting this to continue to act as support and expecting upside on USD CAD. I'll just keep it as simple as that. You guys know, or should know if you don't know, that USD CAD and gold have a pretty negative correlation to each other. Generally, when we're seeing gold, move down, we're seeing USD CAD move up, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Not to mention, we're also seeing some strengthening of the dollar. And then on top of that, not to mention, if you guys remember, last week there was some, and the week before also, there was some very bad news for the Canadian dollar. And bad news from the Canadian dollar means a stronger USD CAD, right? That means that the dollar is going to be stronger than the Canadian dollar. So we're going to see this exchange price go up. So expect more upside on USD CAD. Again, guys, that's this week's analysis. I hope I made it clear enough that my bias is very strongly still towards the upside, just as it was last week, right, guys? That's another big thing is and that's why I say I just want to point out how, yes, last week was a perfect example of when you guys watch my weekly webinars, when you watch these webinars, make sure you are looking for confirmation on your own, because last week when the markets opened, right? Markets opened up right here last week on Euro USD. And what did I say? I said, you guys can go watch. I mean, it's on YouTube. Over 1,000 people watched it. So they can, all of the 1,000 people that watched it can testify that I said last week, I am looking for a stronger dollar. Now, what does a stronger dollar mean? That means that we're looking for Euro USD to go down. Now, did it drop right away? Based off of my analysis, did it drop right away? No, it actually rallied. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it actually rallied up a little bit, made up a little bit of a pullback. But we saw on Thursday and Friday that expectations be fulfilled of expecting this pair to go down. We talked about the head and shoulders last week, waiting for this level to get broken. We've been actually talking about it for about this is the third week talking about this head and shoulders. So just something to keep in mind, that when you guys are watching this, you have to be using your own confirmation, your own analysis combined with mine. And you're going to do, in my opinion, I think you'll do good in the market. I'm generally pretty accurate with what happens. Of course, there's going to be the weeks we aren't accurate, but nobody is perfect. Nobody's going to be right 100% of the time. So there's going to be those times where we're wrong, but I can confidently say more than 50% of the time, my analysis or my outlook on the market usually gets fulfilled in some type of way. So that's this week, guys. Looking for more dollar strengthening, looking for Euro USD to go lower. Like I said, my main focus right now, one of the big pairs my eyes are on is pound yen. I'm expecting some moves to the upside. And really it's just because, last week we saw a lot of, for Euro USD, for USD Swiss franc, for USD CAD, for AU to USD, NZ to USD. We saw these pairs respect the stronger dollar notion, but we really are seeing, we didn't really see a lot of movement in dollar yen and pound yen. So generally you'll find that things follow suit, right? You'll usually see that things start to kind of like follow each other eventually. So we still haven't seen the pound yen and dollar yen react or respond to the strengthening of the dollar yet. And I think this week we will. So watching for upside on both these pairs. But that's that, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Telegram, Slack, Instagram, Facebook. Doesn't matter where I am. I will find some time to reply to you. If you want to learn a little bit more about how I manage accounts or how my trade copier works, how my premium group works, please visit my website. It is positivetraders.us, www.positivetraders.us. Other than that, I will catch you guys next week on our Sunday weekly outlook. If you are a free member and if you are a premium member, I will catch you guys in about 24 hours for tomorrow's live session for our daily webinar in the premium group. And other than that, guys, have a wonderful week. Keep those risks very, very low, and have a great rest of your week, guys.